Hi, I'm Gemma Craven.
And I'm Jeffrey Cologne.
And welcome to the Wednesday Word on Social on Friday. This is a special edition of the Wednesday Word because today is Friday, March 30th. And we're coming to you because today's the day when all brands on Facebook transition to the new timeline. So we wanted to talk through some questions that still need to be answered and give you our point of view on this new transition. So Jeffrey, what does this mean for most brands on Facebook? What's the biggest change we're going to see?
Well, the biggest change is the layout of what is the old brand profile. So we now move over to the timeline, which was announced last September, and it is a wider format. It is more visual, and it is mobile optimized. So it's going to allow a lot of people to look at a brand's page on their mobile phone a little bit better than they had prior.
So does this mean that the profile picture that brands had is going to change? How's this going to look?
So the old format, if you can recall, had the small box photo on the left-hand side. Now everyone gets a really large graphic that goes from left to right on the top of the page, and that makes it look like a website within Facebook.
Right. So it's a very visual format and a very sort of clear way for brands to make an impact on the platform. That seems clear. And so is everybody going to have this new cover photo format?
That's correct. That's why we're doing this point of view. It's March 30th. Everyone gets it, whether they want it or not, even on their own personal profile. So if you go there today and realize what happened, it's because they are switching all properties over to the timeline format. So we're now in the era of timeline on Facebook.
So it's time to think creatively about that cover photo and really how that comes across on the page because of the actual size of the image. What else is going to change? I know that there are many changes to the wall. What should brands be looking to do on the wall postings and content on their page already?
Well, if you can think of the old profile, anyone could go to the wall and leave comments unless a brand turned that off. Now in timeline, you can only comment on an individual post. So each post that a brand has will show up as sort of a box of content. And because of that, it really puts an emphasis on brands to have either a visual or a video or some larger piece of content that fits in with each one of their status updates. So I think we're going to move away just from text-only status updates now.
Right, so that's clear that a refined content strategy is key for the page. And one thing we've really noticed is the addition of milestones, and the fact that it's called timeline means that brands can go all the way back in history and populate the timeline. That's right.
That's correct. I can't remember how far it goes back. I think it's like 1880. But you can, for older brands, they can populate their timeline with, as you noted, milestones are what they're called, and that way someone who comes to the timeline can search all the way back through a brand's history, maybe see some different visuals. If I was a brand that had a large television commercial history, I would be posting every single one of those television commercials onto the timeline because it's a way to share how you sort of have evolved over the time, and I think you're going to see that with a lot of iconic brands.
And we've seen some really great implementations. The Fanta implementation we worked on here at Ogilvy, whereby characters are hidden in the timeline and status updates encourage fans to actually seek them out. And Red Bull's also done a similar kind of scavenger hunt on their timeline, so really encouraging that engagement throughout the different moments in time on the page. So what's the pinned post?
So the pinned post is, as we remember the old way of working, anytime you had a new update, your older updates would just be pushed down the page, so you wouldn't be able to see what a brand had posted a few hours ago or a few days ago. A pinned post allows the brand to take that piece of content they really want to highlight and push it to the top left corner of the page, and it'll stay there for 7 days. So if there's a video that the brand wants to feature, that'll be the first thing that a visitor sees to the timeline, since it's on the top left corner. It's a really great marketing tool that Facebook has instituted here.
Yeah, I've seen some TurboTax has been very smart. It's now the time that they're pinning their FAQs around tax returns as their pin post. So I agree. I think it's a great marketing tool. And one of the huge change is in terms of how apps are arranged on the page. So what difference are brands going to see on that today when they transition?
Yeah, so the tabs that used to exist on the left-hand side of the page are now prominently featured on the top. There's 4 tabs, and then there's an infinite amount that can be pulled down that are hidden. But apps that the brand is using are featured in one of those tabs. So if a brand is using, let's say, Spotify and has a music playlist, that's featured within that tab, and a user can come there and actually see what the brand is doing with different apps within the Facebook ecosystem. So again, it's a great way for creative marketers to really take advantage of allowing their work to be seen by mass audience.
And time to get a strategy for those tabs rather than having them hidden in a tab.
That's correct.
And finally, admins are going to see a difference when the page transitions today. The new admin panel and real-time insights are 2 examples of just how Facebook is really tailoring the platform for marketers. So, again, huge change as it becomes a real platform, a storytelling tool that reaches over 850 million people around the world.
Yeah, you're going to be able to actually, a community manager is going to be able to see in real time how their posts are performing, and I think they're going to be able to adjust on the fly. Hey, this works in the conversation calendar, this maybe doesn't, and they're going to be able to adjust what their messaging is much quicker than you had in the past.
Final question. Have you got any favorites of brands that have already transitioned and have done a great job?
Oh, wow. I love what the New York Times has done. Great iconic history there. ESPN has done the same thing, showing their sort of visual history, a lot of old photos and videos from Sports Center. Coke, I find they have done a unique job in the sense of showing what their history is like. But I'm really looking for, and I think we'll find it, that one brand that really does something that's really interesting and unique. I did see that Spotify actually had a history of music on their timeline today, and I think that's probably the most creative use I've seen so far. It's almost like a history of music as we know it, going all the way back to the early 1900s.
Great. Well, thanks, Jeffrey. This has been the Wednesday Word on Friday, and we'll see you next week.